So this is Slate the Space Marine. I'm going to be talking about the new Librarian in Phobos armor in the new set Shadowspear. And so the Librarian is just kind of like the captain, where he can also come in Phobos armor. And when he's using the Phobos armor, his strategies and tactics and even his psychic powers will change because of what he's bringing to the battlefield. So he's got to be more flexible, or he's a very flexible individual within the chapter. So he'd be using his powers to essentially, find ways to move his guys around or to be able to see things and stuff. He'd use his powers. We'll get into that. He probably does not know what I just said. So let's go to his data sheet. Let's just skip right to it. Librarian and Phobos armor. So he's got a 6-inch movement, a weapon skill ballistic skill 3+, strength toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, save 3+. So he's got a camo cloak, a force sword, a bolt pistol, frag grenades, and crack grenades. So bolt pistol, standard. Force sword, we're not really used to using these, so let's just see what it says. So force sword, AP -3, damage D3. Okay, that's pretty good. Cool. Conceal position. When you set up this model during deployment, it can be set up anywhere on the battle. Oh, so it's got that thing. He's got the deployment where you can be 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone. It's got camo cloak, so he adds 2 to his cover saves. Psychic hood. Add 1 to deny the witch tests made for this model against enemy psychers within 12 inches of it. It's pretty good. This model can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase, and attempt to deny 1 psychic power in the enemy psychic phase. It knows the smite power and 2 psychic powers from the Obscuration Discipline, page 22. It's got the Phobos, Primaris, Psyker, Librarian, keywords, character, infantry. So let's go to page 22 here. And let's see what we get as psychic powers for our Librarian. I used to use them all the time in, 4th edition. Kind of stopped using them when Perils of the Warp became a little bit too periling. So let's see. Obscuration Discipline. So Space Marine Librarians seconded to Vanguard operations are trained in the psychic arts of obscuration and illusion. We'll just get rid of it. Before the battle, you can generate from the psychic powers, the psychers that have the Obscuration Discipline using the table below. You can either roll a d6, or you can pick which ones you want, just like in the other ones. Alright, so we got Shrouding. Shrouding has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Adeptus Astartes Phobos unit within 18 inches of the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. Enemy models can only shoot this unit if it is the closest target that is visible to them. Or if it is the target quoted. The closest target. Scryer's Gaze. Scryer's Gaze has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Adeptus Astartes Phobos unit within 18 inches of the psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made with that unit's ranged weapons, and enemy models do not receive the benefit of cover to their saving throws against ranged attacks made by that unit. Okay, that's a cool power. I like that one. Temporal Corridor. Temporal Corridor has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Adeptus Astartes Phobos unit within 3 inches of the psyker. That unit can immediately move as if it were in its movement phase. It cannot fall back as part of this move. It must advance. When rolling to see how far this unit advances, roll 3d6 and discard the 2 lowest results. You cannot use Temporal Corridor on a unit more than once per psychic phase. Hallucination. Hallucination has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select an enemy unit within 18 inches of the visible to the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. Subtract 1 from that unit's leadership characteristic. In addition, your opponent must roll 2d6. If the result is greater than the unit's leadership characteristic, subtract 1 from hit rolls made for that unit until the start of your next psychic phase. Okay. Tenebrous Curse. I'm probably pronouncing that badly. Tenebrous Curse has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Select an enemy unit that cannot fly, and is visible to and within 18 inches of the Psyker. That unit suffers a mortal wound. In addition, until the start of your next psychic phase, half that unit's move characteristic and the result of any advance or charge rolls made for it. Mind Raid. Mind Raid has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Select an enemy model within 18 inches and visible to the Psyker. That model's unit suffers a mortal wound. If your army is battle forged and the model you chose was a character, you can then roll 3d6. If the result is equal to or higher than the model's leadership characteristic, you gain 1 command point. Nice. So you could just use that one into like a character a few times and just rack up some command points with the Mind Raid if they survived it, if you survived it, if all of the surviving happened. So the Librarian in Phobos armor is 100 points. The Camel Cloak, another 3 points. The Force Sword is 8 points. So they'd be 111 points altogether. So I mean, just 110 points just to kind of put that all in one chunk. And they're power 6. Altogether, not too bad.